Hi, my name is Finnegan. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was brought on to be Sunday guest, and I'm here to talk about my experiences with flying internationally and nationally as a transgender male. So the best way for me to do this is just to explain the way I go through the airport. I've had zero problems. I've had zero times that I've been put into a unwanted situation. So when you go and check in, your name on your passport must match the name that you issued the ticket in. If they don't match, if you accidentally issued the ticket in your desired name, but you haven't had it legally changed, then they will make you buy a new ticket. They have to match. Check-in, you shouldn't have any problems other than that, and then you go up to security. For security, there's three things that I've got to tell you. Number one is I don't suggest you pack. Packers, depending on how you place them, depending on how big they are, depending on what they're made of, can be triggered off in the alarms, or they could look at you and think that there's something in your pants that shouldn't be. Don't overpack. If you do pack, you're not there to impress anyone. You're just there to go through security. For your binder, depending on what your binder's made out of, if it has clasps or if it has Velcro, they might go off. There might be a little signal when you go through the metal box that you put your arms up, and so they'll pat you down. When they pat you down, it's basically on what you look like. They're not trying to be transphobic. They're not trying to put you in an awkward situation. It's what you look like. Either a male or a female person will come up, pat you down. I, as you can see, pass very well, so I've always gotten a male to pat me down. If you're in the middle, you can tell them that I'm a male, and you can ask to get a male to pat you down. My binder, one time in Germany, came up and they felt the clasps and they asked me what it was. I told them it was to hold my chest down, and they were completely fine with that. So then I also take my vial on the airplane. The reason for that is I fly over 6 hours quite a few times in a year, so the temperatures underneath the plane are not exactly desirable for your testosterone vial. Because it's 6 hours and up, I take it in the plane. If it's under 6 hours, I think you should be fine. You can put it under. Nothing really should happen to your vial. But for my sake, I do take it with me. And what I do is, it's also not supposed to go in the metal detector very frequently. So I take it out. I called the TSA offices and they told me exactly this. You take the vial out, you hand it to the officer that's there. You tell them that it is a medication that must be hand regulated or hand approved, hand whatever. They basically just have to take it, look at it, and determine whether they think it's bad or good for you. Sometimes they'll call their supervisor. That doesn't mean you're out of luck. It just means that they need someone above them to okay it. So after that, I give it to them. They look at it. I go through the metal detector. I get pat down if I do, and then I take all my stuff. The one thing that you need to be aware of is that if you take your syringes and needles, you are allowed to take them in the plane with you, but you must have the prescription saying that with this medication of testosterone, I have to have these syringes. You have to have some kind of formal thing saying that your prescription or a doctor's carry-on letter or something to prove to them that you are supposed to have these needles and syringes because they are considered a weapon. So just make sure you have it. I normally put them under the plane because I always have a one-check bag, so it always goes under the plane and I haven't had any problems. I cannot say what happens if you take them on the plane. But yeah, so testosterone, all that, packing, binding, syringes, needles, you should be fine. They shouldn't stop you. If they do stop you, it is not the airport that is stopping you. If someone asks you personal questions, it is their personal desire to ask you the questions. Legally, they cannot ask you why you're on testosterone. They cannot ask you why you have these needles and syringes. You have to just have the documentation, and if you have it, you should be fine. With packing, another thing, the reason why I don't pack is because if I were to get into an uncomfortable situation, they aren't allowed to ask you to take it out in front of the public, so they will take you to a separate room. I would prefer to just ignore all of that and keep going, so that's what I do. And that's pretty much how I go through the airport. I get on the plane. On the plane, I let my binder loose. On the plane, no one's going to look at you, so I let my binder a bit loose, usually with my mom. And then before we land, I clip my binder back together in the bathroom, and I get off the plane. Customs is the last thing that you might have to go through. If you have to go through customs, that's when they can start asking you questions, but they're still not allowed to ask you anything in terms of proving who you are and all of that. What they'll ask you mostly is just, have you taken anything illegal into the country, or why are you here, and all that, and you shouldn't have any problems. And that's how my experiences with flying have been. The one advice I give you is you have to be confident in your answers. Don't hesitate. Be there for a purpose. Make sure you know what you have with you. Make sure you know what to respond. Don't hesitate. Hesitation brings more questions. Just, if you have the vial, just confidently say, I have medication I have to be on. Don't put it through the metal detector. Don't start explaining complicated ways. Honestly, they're not there to put you in a bad situation. They're there to make sure that the public is safe. It's not transphobic if they ask you what it is. It's not transphobic if they pat you down with a female or a male. It's just what they're trained to do. I'm going to go now. It's nice being here.